Yeah, good evening, guys. Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I think today we are going to see that VM queues and object store, right? Let me open it. Okay.
Topic example is pending.
Which one? Topic one, right? Actually, I didn't configure that correctly. Yeah. So, okay, we will see that one later. First, we were going to see the VM, then we'll talk about. Okay, before starting off the VM, first let me explain one important one, that is the async scope. Then we can talk about that. Yeah. So generally, how the flows are executed? The flows are executed sequentially, right?
Yes.
So whenever we talk about the synchronous and asynchronous, means synchronous flows are means first executing the logger, then we can go to the next one. So the sequential order we are following it. Okay, in that we can call it a synchronous flow. But the mule allows you to execute our flows asynchronously. Let us say you can see, so there is a one scope is available, that is async scope. Okay, now you can see I am placing the async scope here. What I'm going to do to simulate the thing, I'm creating one subflow. Okay, so inside of this subflow, what my intention is, I am putting one set variable. Let us say I'm putting one set variable, I'm giving as a name, and its value is the 20. Okay, so inside of this one, how we can call that subflow? How we can call that subflow? By using the flow reference, right?
Correct.
Now you can see the difference. Subflow, we are placing it, and what we do here, I am putting one more transformation to print the x and y values. Okay, it is in the form of JSON. So the x is the one, I think it is a where's dot x. Inside of this variable, I am creating one more variable, that is the y. Okay, so I am printing x and y values, y equal to where's dot y. Okay, let us see first, there is no async is there. I am executing directly. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I am setting one breakpoint. Let's save the program, debug it. So whatever you are seeing, this is the synchronous flow. One after one another it is executing. First we can hit it. My endpoint is the VMEX. Okay, let's see how these are executed. One second. Yeah, it is deployed. Then go on, hit it. Okay, it is in debug mode. Now you can see the first component. Then we can move to the next component. What happened when we find the flow reference? It is automatically jumps to that reference flow and that executed, and again come back to your main flow, and continuously it is executing, right? So this is, you can call it as a synchronous, right? Then, so what is the requirement here? You can see I want to run the job parallelly. That parallel jobs running, generally we can call it as async scope. Now you can see everything I'm changing to the async scope. You can see inside of the async scope, I'm calling the my subflow.
Can you change the value, sir? 20, 20, 20, 30 something.
No, first you can see. You can see.
Hmm.
So inside of x, you can see the x equal 20 and y is okay. Y is 50. I can give it. Okay. Now you can observe it. What happens is inside of the async flow, async scope, I am calling my subflow. Let's see how they are executing. It is in the debug mode, and then we can able to inspect it whether those
Yeah.
are executing in order or not. So now I'm hitting it. Then comes here. Now you can closely observe it. Now this is the component. We are not at enter into the async scope. Now see which one is executed. You can see. So at a time, you can see maybe you are thinking it is bypassing the your async scope, but internally it is creating the threads, and one thread is executing your main flow, and another thread executing your async scope. Observed? That means you can see both are executing the same time, right? Then when we executing like this one, what is the problem here? You can see you are unable to get the X value. Why we are not getting the X value? Because where we set the X value?
Subflow.
Inside of the subflow. But what happens before executing of this one? Your main flow is executed, right?
Yes.
Because I am calling this entire subflow inside of the async scope. So inside of the async scope, these are the problems, right? Then how we can able to solve these kind of problems? So to improve the performance of the flows execution, you are using the async scope. So but the problem here in the async scope, all flows are executed simultaneously. We don't get the expected value, right? We don't get the expected value, right?
Yeah.
Then the same scenario, maybe we are seeing the previous messaging queues, right? So there are different endpoints are executed in the same time, all are generating the output. How we can able to achieve the data consistency? Previously. So your endpoints are executing simultaneously and you need to push your entire data somewhere, right? From there only we are reading the data. You guys are remembered messaging queues basic structure. No, okay, let me see. You can see, let us say this is the A is my endpoint, B is one endpoint, all are executing simultaneously and they are generating the data. Whatever data is generating, I am pushing inside of a queue. From this queue only at the single point of your time, I am performing the data, right? Reading operation, right? Even though
Yes.
these jobs are executed simultaneously, there is no problem. All data is available inside of the queue. From this queue, at the same time, at the single point of time, I can read one by one by only. So this is the way we can maintaining the data consistency. You can see this is the same scenario, right? My async flows are executed, my flow is executed simultaneously. Then how we can able to maintain the data consistency means, so here I don't want to create, I don't want to use any external messaging queue. So the mule provide in this example, internally we are going to create one virtual queue that we can call it as a VMs, virtual messaging queues. Got it? So the VM indicates virtual. So normal messaging queues, these are maintained by some third party members, right? So here I don't want to use that external messaging queue. I want to use
By inbuilt.
internal queues. That internal queue we can call it as
VM.
VMs. Okay, now you can understand what is the need of using VMs. So inside of my flow, is there any async flows are there? Async flows is also generating the data, but they are not giving order of your thing. So it is not expected what we thinking. So to maintaining the data consistency inside of the async scope, so whatever the data generated by the async scope, we can simply push the entire data inside of
VM.
VM. From the VM only I can able to
Access.
read the data. Okay, let us see. Okay, so how we can creating the messaging queue. So this is my example, right? Whatever the data is there here, I want to push this entire data to the my messaging queue. So how we can create the messaging queues here, you can see. So that connector we can call it as a VM. I am removing the module and I'm adding one more time. Now you can see, so here we need to create VM, right? Then we can simply search for the VM. So the same operation, what is the publish? The publish can do push the data to the messaging queue. What is the consume?
Access.
Read data from
That's
queue.
here we can see whatever the output generated by this flow. So I want to push this entire data to the my VM. So which one we need to use it here? Publish or consume?
Publish.
Then we can simply drag and drop here. Whatever the output is generated by this subflow, it is automatically comes here. That entire data I want to push into the one virtual queue. So here I'm placing here, we need to configure it. Click on place. So you can simply go to here. You can see by default, there are no queues are created. So here we need to create it. Simply select the queues, edit inline. Okay, then you can see it is here, there is only queues are there is no topic, just remember guys. Okay, so here click on place. Now it is asking your queue name. I can give my queue name as a sample queue, and so here you can see there are two options you can able to see. One is the transient queue, the second one is the
Persistent.
Persistence. Then what is the general meaning of the transient? Anyone? Maybe forget about it. What is meant by persistence?
Save permanently.
That means whatever the queue you are generated, that is saved inside of your physical memory. That queue we can call it as a
Persistent.
persistent queue. Then quite opposite. Whatever the queue you are created, it is not saved inside of the physical drive. It is saved inside of your virtual memory. Okay. That queue we can call it as
Transient.
transient. The next one is what is the queue size? What is the maximum number of messages you want to save it? Then I'm setting the 10 as my maximum size. Then click on finish. Okay. Now you are just created one transient queue with the size of
10.
that's
Message.
it. Then click on OK. Then here comes here. Now here you can see the same thing. Send correlation ID always selected as auto. Then you can see what is your queue name,
Sample queue.
right? You can see you can simply refresh it. Automatically comes here and everything. Okay. Then click on save. Now whatever output is generated, they are automatically pushed to the
Queue.
right. Then the first operation is completed, right? Then what is your requirement? You need to read the data from this one. Okay, just remember, so you don't put always here. So what I'm going to do is okay, sorry, is that done? So I want to read the data from this subflow, right? What I'm going to do, I'm creating one more subflow, or what is the one more config file. From there I am calling it. Okay, so this is the one we can give example. Sorry. 02. So inside of this one, let us assume there is another flow is there. HTTP request. Sorry, listener. I am placing it. VM read. Okay. Okay. So here I want to trigger my action. Okay, so whenever I'm calling this one automatically, I want to call this one, right? Like let's see. So what operation I need to perform here?
Read.
I want to read the data from my virtual queue, right? Now you can see consume is there. I'm just placing the consume here. The same thing here, we need to select whatever the sample queue is, everything is were configured correctly, and whatever the output is coming, then I want to convert them as something. First we will see how the data is coming or not, then we can use it. The payload. Okay, let's hit it. Let's save the program. Okay, all are executing. Then it is already in executing mode. Okay, first I'm pushing my entire data to the queue, then I'm calling this this endpoint to read my data. Okay, so what is my endpoint here? VMEX. Then I'm calling this one and push the data. It is in the debug mode, right? Okay, my data is executed. Then we can go and call this one. What is this one? VM read. Let us see how we are getting the read. Oh, 1 second. Is it given the data or not? Consume it at a breakpoint. Yeah, you can see. Oh, okay. The same payload. After executing of this one, what is my payload? No, there is nothing is coming. Then why it is okay? Don't worry. Okay, so here sometimes if the consume operation is not coming, then here we need to use to consuming the data file. So what is this one?
Listener.
So instead of using the consume, so instead of using the consume, you need to use we need to use what is this
VM
one?
listener.
VM listener. Then you can see here. 1 second. I am placing one by one, then without understand. Okay, so VM listener I am placing. So let us see what is the configuration and everything. So sample queue and everything, and whatever the output is coming out of this one, then I'm simply converting into the JSON. And okay, the payload. But so this is the part of another subflow. Here you need to call this one. How we can call that one? How we can call that one? How we can call that one?
Flow
This is the
reference.
flow, right? That means the flow reference. What is the one? Example flow one. Okay. Let's save the program. Add a breakpoint. Let's see how they are propagating the data. Is it debugged? Think we need to save the program and debug it again. So to consuming the any data from my virtual queue, then we need to use a VM listener, not VM consume. Okay. Let us see. I hope this time this will work. Okay. First we need to push the data, then VM EX is there, right? Then, oh, it is in the debug mode. Okay. We can execute. Then we need to perform VM read. Let's see. So how they are propagating. Now you can see as of now the previous payload is there. Then we can move to the next component. Now you can see after reading, is it not performed? The same data is coming. Why it is not? 1 second, guys. Is this data is inserted or not? The payload publish.
But we,
Yeah, go ahead.
where is Smith N106 coming? We have set only
No.
20,
This
50.
is the whatever the payload is there now here. That is propagating there. Don't worry. I will show you. Let us see first these components are executed sequentially or not. VMEX because it in this async scope. On the payload, whatever the variable. Okay. You guys are observed or not? 1 second. This is the one. This is the one. And but here you are observe it. Here the payload is nothing there. Now here we are setting the variable, right? My data is available inside of the variable, and from there there is no payload. That's why it is throwing an error. Okay. Understand, right? No?
No, can you explain again?
Yeah. 1 second. Here, what problem is when inside of the flow reference, what we done is we created the variable,
Yeah,
right? But when publishing, what we do, whatever the payload is coming, that is pushing into the queue,
yeah,
right? But that means whatever the payload is from coming from this postman, that is pushing into the queue.
okay,
So, but here what is requirement? Whatever the payload is setting here, that should be coming there, right? Then
yes,
here instead of the payload, we can write like this one, vars dot that variable, right? Okay. So whatever the variable value we are setting here, that value pushing inside of my queue. Okay. Got it?
yeah,
So dash here none, you can see whatever the data is coming out of this one, it is treated as a payload. That payload is comes here and everything is printed. Let's see now this time it will comes perfectly. First we can execute it. Okay, that previously it is executed correctly, but we are missed at that point. Okay, so first we can see VMEX, then we can hit it. Let's see what the value. You can see initial payload is nothing is there. After executing this one, now you can see after executing the flow reference, what is the payload? And it is still it is created. Okay, no problem. Okay, now can that we call this one? No, right? Now what is we need to read? VM read. Let's hit it. Let's see what is the one.
Payload is still empty.
1 second. Yeah. Actually, maybe in the call, when we call this one automatically gone. Okay, yeah. Okay, 1 second. So payload is we pushing the data and how we can call this one. One second, we can call this one example flow, right? After we call this one flow reference, let me handle this way. What is the example flow? Okay, so without using guessing scope, let me call this one. I will explain what I done. So simply publishing the one, then I call the listener where it is available, and we will see what is the data is coming out of that one. We can hit it. Let's see why this one is triggered. Okay.
So wrong URL.
Yeah. Endpoint is the different. VMEX only we need to call it. Okay, we move to the one by one. The payload should be empty. After calling this one, it is automatically created one variable, and that variable I am pushing inside of a queue, and the correlation ID. Then we are setting one more variable, and what the payload is there. Now you can see what is my payload. What is my payload?
20.
Why it is coming 20? Because we are triggered this one, right? So the VM listener is automatically read the data from that queue. Okay. So why previously is not coming means we are triggering new endpoint, means automatically the previous queue is whatever the virtual MEQ is there now, that is refreshed. That is the problem there. Okay, so everything is I'm creating the inside of one single call, then your messaging queue is available. Okay.
Can you explain with different examples?
Now you can see. So previously what happens is how we can call this one. So by using different endpoint now.
Yes.
So what happens is when we call this different endpoint means it is automatically refresh your entire messaging queue. So what is the drawback of this VM queue is everything in the same call only, your entire data is recorded inside of the messaging queue. Same call means same endpoint. Okay, so here what we done, so one we simply when we call this one means this is separate endpoint, right? So inside of the separate endpoints, there is no VM is there. That's why it is throwing an error. So it is throwing an empty message. Okay. Got it?
Not getting, sir.
Now you can see. So you can see.
Can you give different example?
Different
single
means.
Single flow,
Okay, 1 second.
This has
What
been
we do,
confused.
I removed this one and I'm creating everything inside of the single. Okay, I'm stopping this project. Now you can see here there is a flow reference is there. I'm placing it. So what I am going to do is inside of this one, I am placing the VM listener. Okay. So for this VM listener, I am selecting the sample queue and everything. Okay. Whatever the data is coming out of this one, I am placing here. Okay. JSON payload. Okay. So what is the name of the flow? VM example flow one. I need to set it VM example flow one. Okay, let us hit it. Now everything is in the same flow, and whatever the output we are generating from this flow reference, I'm simply pushing into side of my VM queue. From this VM queue, I want to read the data and I'm displaying. Okay, let's see step by step. Okay, now we can hit it, then comes here. Now so far there is no payload. Then we can move to the first one, flow reference. Here we are setting one variable. That variable value is we are setting in, we are pushing inside of my messaging queue. Then so when we are setting the second variable, the y, then we are calling this flow reference, right? So after calling the flow reference, what is your payload? What is your payload?
20.
So how we can get this 20? Because here we are setting, right? You can see inside of the set variable, what is the value you are setting?
20.
20. That variable value we are inserting inside of your messaging queue, right? For example, let us say in this example, you can see, 1 second. First we are completing this one, then we can change this value. Let's see. So inside of this variable, I am setting variable like this one. So sample queue data. Okay, let's save it. Okay, now we can trigger it one more time. Let's check it. Now we are called right now. Come here. Now you can see, is there any initial payload is there? First
No.
observe it that there is no payload is there. Then we move to the flow reference. Inside of the flow reference, after executing, there is one variable I am created. What is that variable data?
Sample queue data.
Sample data. That same entire data is I'm inserted inside of my queue, right? Still you can see after inserting of the queue also there is no payload. You observed?
Yes.
Right? After inserting, so I'm creating one variable. After that one, I'm calling the flow reference. The flow reference automatically points here. So which one is got executed first here? VM listener is executed. After calling the VM listener, whatever the data is available inside of my sample queue, that is readed, right?
Where
Got
is the other where is the other variable?
Where is the
Yeah.
one?
In the
Which
main
one?
flow, there is another variable, right?
Then
Before flow reference. Last flow reference, there is a set
here
variable.
you can see. Here you can see.
But it is not printing lastly.
No. So we are inside of this triggering mechanism. Here there is no variable is there now. You can see after we move to the main reference, you can see my variable is there still there.
So can you show the postman result?
No, you can see. Second. We are not printing anything. Now, if you want print, you can see. After this one, I am putting one transformation. So you guys want to print that variables, right?
Both the variables.
Okay, that's you can see. Where's dot?
Just mention as a payload, right? It will print both.
No. Payload means it is printing the whatever the data inside of the variable, right? Not a queue, right? Not a variable. So here you can see this component returns some output that is treated as a payload. I am printing here.
So what
Got
is that payload? Sample data from queue.
Yeah, the sample queue, right?
Yeah, then it will go to main flow.
Then it automatically again go back to here. Here, whatever the payload from written by that VM listener, we are seeing, right?
So why we just can't mention payload and print and it will give both the variable sample queue as well as.
Okay,
that's-
one second. Here the two variables you want to print the payload. Okay. Here I'm giving the data and printing that payload. Okay. Let's save and run it. Okay. I'm triggering it. Comes here. I move to last component. Then X
Not
is
print.
there, data is there. One second. My payload is gone. We can achieve that one by saving inside of a variable. Then what is the one? One second. Okay, still my payload is there here. No variable. Then, okay,
Here it come.
yeah. Then here we can say one variable, and from that variable only we can access it. This is the one, and there is yeah.
So queue data is not get persisted in main flow.
Yes, that means this is not persistent. That's transient queue, right? We are created every time. So
But we are under same session, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
request hasn't completed yet.
Yes, yes. But the listener, it is not giving the data because it is automatical triggering, na? One second. There is one more connector is there. We will choose that one, publish and consume. We will use this one. One second. Instead of that one, there is one more connector is there. We can use this one. Otherwise, consume. One second. Stop the project.
Can you increase the timeout?
No. My expectation is I want to read the data from this queue and I want to print it. What is the one? Publish and consume. Generally, we use the listener only to read the data. I'm not doing that one. Let's try this one. Yeah. I never used the VM key so far, but I tried it. Let us check this one. So meanwhile, we can see payload is there, flow reference and everything is there inside of the variable. Oh, data is coming. Then sample data is coming.
Again, it got erased.
Oh,
Both variable and payload got erased.
yeah. So the payload is got affected,
Timeout.
right? Yeah. No. What happens is wherever the publish consume is there, it is automatically pointing to that VM listener and it is entire executing and it is try to retrieve the data. But there is no data, then it is automatically throwing an error. That is the one. And okay. Let me give me 1 second. We will search on that. So frankly speaking, I never used this one, but we can try it here. VM, right? VM. For VM connect. Publish.
Okay, okay.
No, no, no. What happens is it doesn't go back to your main flow. That is the one.
Yeah, it's not going to
Uh,
flow.
it is not going to the main flow. If it is going to main flow, whatever the data is consuming by HTTP listen, whatever the VM listener, that is mean discard. That is the problem here. That's why we are not going to call this one by using the flow reference. So everything we need to create like flow here only. Then only your payload is whatever the read operation is done from your VM queue, that will be there. Got it, guys?
Can we have a separate example from beginning?
Separate example
Yes.
means here you can say I can explain. I'm not created this one, and here
Because
you
it's
can
so
see.
much
Yeah,
confusing.
yeah. I can see. I will share you 1 second. Copy image. Generally, we are not going to use this VM, but somehow we can save this image, and I will save VM. No, we need to save as. So here what we done, you can see there is a HTTP request is there. From this HTTP request, what I'm done is, so HTTP main listener, I'm triggering my flow. What is the triggering flow is, it is automatically picking the all the files information which is available inside of SFTP. Okay. So after that one, what they do, whatever the files is available, they're simply pushing this entire messaging into their virtual MQ. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so why they're pushing means every time we don't know, right, how many every 1 hour this job is running, whatever the updated files are, list of the files are there, time being they're pushing inside of the queue. Then where we need to read the data this time,
Read from the
your entire files list is available inside of
queue.
queue. Why they're
Yeah.
pushing? Because every 1 hour maybe the new list of the files are coming, right? So every 1 hour your files is again pushing entire data inside of the queue. From the queue only we are maintaining the order. So first 1 hour data, the next second 1 hour data, that definitely they will be available the next iteration, right? The previous one. No, not got it. 1 second. I will show you, right? So this is my queue. Okay. So for first 1 hour, there is a 20 file list of the files are available. They are pushing. So where we can push it, this 20 files data is available at this position. Okay. For the next 1 hour, again 10 files information is coming. Then 10 files coming here. Okay. So that's next 1 hour 30, next hour 50. You can see all files list is available inside of my
Yeah.
queue, right? So when we triggering this retrieve operation, maybe after 5 hours of the 10 hours, so there is information is available inside of your virtual queue. From that virtual queue only one by one, I'm consuming it. Got it?
But in our case, that consumed didn't work, right?
No. You can see there is no, you can see after this one, everything is but the one order, right? You can see after pushing your data again, what is the one they're pushing? The VM consumer, maybe VM listener they are using. So it is picking the data, right? Consume. Whatever the consume, it is nothing but the VM listener. We are picking the data from this one. Again, we are writing entire data into the some other endpoint, that is the agent's location is there. There I am pushing. So I am picking data from my source data. After picking entire data every 1 hour, I'm pushing the entire data to the VM. From this VM, I'm consuming the data which is available inside of the VM. Then I'm pushing this entire data into the my agent location. Okay, so from there only again I'm pushing the whatever the balance files is there, I am picking that one. Again that information is again I'm pushing into another VM. So you can see all are continuous jobs. Asynchronous jobs are running, right?
Synchronous.
No. You can see this job is executing asynchronously, this job is asynchronously, but that commonly they are using everywhere they are using the common messaging queue, right? You can see this job is 1 hour they're executing, they're pushing entire data inside of the messaging queue. Whatever the list of the files is there, then I'm reading this data and everything you're pushing, right? One by one.
Then sir, it must be synchronous, right? Without pushing data, how we can run from queue, read from queue?
Where,
It should-
where? You can say
The-
after pushing the only, whenever the data is available inside of the VM only, we can able to consuming the data, right?
So that is a synchronous manner, right?
No. So that means how we can trigger this one. That is the one. Maybe we are triggering first one, maybe this, whatever this HTTP request is there, na? Maybe 10 locations they are triggering. Then what happens? You are the only one to open the Gmail login page.
No.
Then 10 people are opening the Gmail login page, then updated the information inside of that one. What happens? 10 requesters are running parallelly, right?
Yes.
Right. The same thing you can see there is a travel agent system is there. Let us assume the ticket administration, right? So they're updating the ticket information. So for each account, each ticket updation, they're creating the some separate file. Let us assume like that one. Okay. Then you guys tell me this, how many members are triggered this one? Only one or 10 or 20?
Multiple.
Multiple means that means definitely multiple files are created. How we can able to track that multiple files? So everything whenever we are triggering the file, automatically that entry will be added inside of the queue. Now got it?
Yeah. Can you have one simple example?
Now you can see the same example. Let us visualize just like your book my show. Okay. How many members can open book my show at a time? Only one single person or multiple persons?
Multiple.
So that means multiple threads are executing, right? So
Yeah.
every time whatever the ticket information is there, I'm inside of my SFTP server, I'm creating one log file, let us assume. So these are multiple movies, right? Okay. So for each movie, I'm creating one entry file. Okay. Now you guys tell me these entry files are created only once or it is created continuously?
Continuously.
Right, then you can see. So when we updating all the files continuously, what we do, whatever the file I'm created, I'm simply push this entire file inside of my messaging queue. Okay, got it? Okay, now you can see inside of my messaging queue why I'm pushing my data, because so many persons are booking my ticket. Each movie information is available inside of one file. That whatever the file is updated, that file is I'm simply moving to my messaging queue one by one, right?
Yes.
Then what is my requirement is I want to give some amount, right? My ticket broker is there. Now, for example, I am booking my ticket from the Sridevi theater. So I want to pay some amount, right? So how we can get that information? This movie is booked by this person, means this ticket, theater owner. So by seeing this movie information, I can able to process it. So I can simply read the one file from this one, and I'm simply updating that entire information at the agent level. Let us assume you are consuming the data from this queue. For example, first movie ticket, then second movie ticket, third movie ticket. So we are picking that entire information and process the data, and again I can push entire data into the my user's location. Let us assume. Okay, so once the user location is everything is data, then whatever the amount is settled, the entire report again I'm pushing inside of the queue. For the transaction 1, what is the entry? Transaction 2, what is the entry? Everything I updated. Again, I can push entire data inside of my messaging queue. This is my transaction queue. Okay. From this transaction queue, again, I'm reading that reading perform is then the payments is completed. You can see everything is maintaining one synchronous or asynchronous order, right? So whatever your triggering mechanism is there, you are booking the ticket. So definitely there are multiple persons they can access this HTTP requester. Then multiple files are created to maintain the order. I'm pushing entire data inside of my messaging queue. From this messaging queue, again I'm consuming the data. So once we consuming the data, I updated my agent information. Whatever the payment, how much you are payment and how much we settled, entire that information again push to the my internal queue. From this internal queue, I'm again reading the data and I'm settle the payments, right? Internally, they're maintaining everything in a particular order. Got it? Sometimes it is taking time, but don't worry. Let us visualize. So there are 1000 people that are hitting the book my show. How they're maintaining the consistency? Now you guys tell me. There are 1,000 people, they book the ticket by using Book My Show, right? How they are maintaining the consistency? Maybe how you think it? There are 2 or 3 persons, they are booked the same book the ticket, right? So definitely they're maintaining the one queue, right? So this person is booking this ticket. So how they can maintain the order means the internal they're maintaining the messaging queue.
Can we have simple example for queue, publish
Ah.
queue, consume queue?
Okay. Simpler means okay. When we
Just-
talk about this means
We can insert a student data and then we'll retrieve.
then we need to read it. That is very simple. But generally, this is the way we are using the messaging queue. And but here we are not going to use any external internal queue, but they are using the internal. And I can see. For example, there is a published data is available, right?
No, sir. This example is very.
One.
Can you create new one?
One second. I'm deleting that. Okay. There is no data. Okay. There is only one thing is available. Stop the execution. Whatever the payload is coming, I'm simply publishing into my messaging queue. Okay. Whatever the payload is coming, send correlation is auto.
Timeout session we can increase.
Okay. Then I'm putting some logger to display. Then here what we need to do, we need to use the consume. Whenever we are using the consume, I think we need to use a listener.
So listener is a source of kind. We can't add in a main.
Yes. Here we need to select the sample. So here I'm sending some JSON data. So deployed, then we can get it. My payload is still same. Now you can see whenever a consume is there, it is automatically moved to my VM listener and start reading of the data, and it is the some payload it is reading. Then you can see after converting it is again it is go back to, you can see the payload is same and it is what is the one? Okay. Check. So you can see when we're placing a VM listener, when we reach the end of the flow, automatically it will again go to the VM listener, and whatever the content you are written, it is automatically read from there. You can see whatever the output is there, you can see this is the data is coming.
But can we have that payload from main flow? Can we capture that?
What is
Which
the
one is
where-
listener transform message?
I didn't get, you can see. I mean, this
So
is the
what-
one, right?
Yeah,
Whatever
this
the
payload
payload
can
is
be,
there, maybe, okay. We do something, it is an object, right? Then we can, so I'm adding some extra fields. Data, let us check it whether it is coming that one or not. Okay, let's save it. I'm just concatenating another object to identify whether this data is executed or not. Go here. Now you can see here we can also inspect it. So this is my initial payload. After go here, so everything is changed. Then here, so you can see after reading the VM listener, again this the one. After this one, we are done some transformation and go here. You can see everything is gone, right? It should be there. Payload plus data 20. And 1 second. It is returning the same thing. Whatever the payload is there, we should return. 1 second. You can do like this one.
payload.
Then we can observe it. So as for now, flow data unposted, then comes here. Okay, nothing is there. Then go to console. You can see my data is changed, right?
But why we can't see in Postman?
No. You can see what happens is when we the same principle. So what happened when completion of this entire thing, it is again go back to your main flow, right?
Yeah.
So when we move to the main flow, whatever the previous data is there, that is displaying, right?
No, if we set a set variable after that logger in main flow,
Here.
we try to capture.
No.
In the main flow,
Yeah, okay. Maybe, okay. Tell me, yeah.
Yeah, set a variable to capture or set a payload to capture whatever the output is coming from that listener and display to the Postman.
Okay, 1 second. Maybe you're not getting. It is not returning the right.
Yeah, at Postman level, it is not ready.
No, not
It is written
Postman
at
level.
console.
1 second. I will show you. There is one. You can see it is automatically triggering, right? If it
Yeah,
is
we
a
have
flow
not-
reference, it is a flow, then we can set the target. From the target only, we can able to capture it in the main flow, right?
But sir, we are able to hit that both flow with the same HTTP point, right? One is listener only.
Yes. Same
So
HTTP only, but you can see after consuming the data from this HTTP VM listener, what happens is that entire data is available inside of whatever you can see. For example, if you want to done any modification inside of the flow, that will be there.
No, I want that modification to reflect in main flow.
Then we can see, then we can push this entire data into the database, then we can reuse that data, right?
No,
Otherwise, you can, tell me.
we are here to avoid that database hit, right? VM.
Yeah,
We are using.
no. VM
So
is
what if-
somewhat different, not messaging queue here. You can see VM is somewhat whenever the async scopes are there. So it is a limited functionality is there. It is not complete replacing of database messaging queue, right?
No,
So
that I
you
will
can, now you can see, now you can same example you can see. So after this one, we are consuming the data again, whatever the output is there, we are pushing inside of the one physical location, and what that information is again, I'm pushing in the queue. You can see. So there is no replication is there. If you want to read the data, again, we need to read the data from this SFTP locations only. So they have some limitations are there because your data is available inside of virtual queues, right? So inside of your RAM only, that's the limited size is there now. So for example, you are consuming the 20, I mean 200 records. Is it possible to store every time the 200 records inside of the RAM?
Yeah, I got it. But what I'm not getting, we still haven't used asynchronous, right? Everything is going in synchronous manner here. We haven't
Okay.
used the asynchronous component.
Here.
No, we haven't used asynchronous component, right? It's a
No,
normal flow
no,
only.
you can see. Yeah, one second. If you have any async scope is there, for example, if it is an async scope is there, then so if your async scope is
My question is,
got it, you can see after this end only we can get it. But when we executing the async mean multiple threads are executing in those situations, whatever the data is coming out of that one, then we can push to the queue. I got your point. Maybe it seems to be synchronous only. After end of this flow only, there were a VM is triggered.
yes,
You got my point. But if the multiple threads are multiple times are multiple persons are hitting, then what happens? It is a web services now. So multiple persons are hitting the same HTTP requester, then multiple outputs are generated, right? Then how we can maintain the consistency with the limited resources means we can use this VM.
not sir, not getting. If
No,
we
no,
set that maximum concurrency to 1 for the flow, and then
yeah.
we try, then also we will lost that payload,
No,
right?
no. Okay. So to avoid this, VM is the small one, right? Just remember, it is not complete replacing of your original messaging queue.
No,
Okay.
what in earlier example you create two flows,
Yeah.
and so that's why we are not able to capture, because for one single listener we can have that life to capture. Here with single HTTP listener also we are not able to get whatever there is in listener.
No. Okay. Previously, what we done is by calling the flow reference, we are calling this one, right?
Yeah, here it is.
So after
We are not
calling
calling it
this
is
one,
that.
after that one, what happened? This entire we can go back to this one. What happens? You are
My
coming
simple
out of
requirement.
this messaging queue, your original payload is there. That is the
My
drawback of this
simple
VM.
requirement. Yeah, my
Yeah.
simple requirement is whatever the after listener the whatever the payload we have sent with request, it got published to queue. Means
Okay.
got saved into the queue.
Okay.
After that, at the end we are reading from that queue.
Okay. Yes.
And we are then coming to main flow. Then I want to append
No.
or I want to add something on that payload and then send to end user.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not possible, right? The same.
Yeah. Now that means whatever the payload is coming off of this one, so you need to consume, we need to perform some operation over there, right?
In the main flow, I want to perform.
No. That
Because
is not possible. That means you need to perform. That means again you need to create. Maybe you can here you can call one HTTP listener. Then answer 1 second. Let me see it. Maybe this will works for you. Your requirement. Okay. I will show you. So first I'm calling this one. I will. I think this time it should become here. That is the one subflow. Then whatever the payload is there, I'm printing. First we will see that. Okay. Whatever it is, payload and everything. Okay, let's save and run it. Let's check this one. What is the one? Okay, 1 second. Just the need of this. Let me hit this example. Okay, now we are inside of my VM listener. Then whatever the payload is there, this is my new payload. And here I'm calling my flow reference. Let's see. Now you can see whatever the data I am consuming it, right? From this VM listener, I want to do some operation. So what I'm done is I'm simply creating one subflow. Then whatever the payload is coming out of this one, then that payload is using here. I think this is your requirement, right?
Can you show that payload here?
You can see the same payload.
Can we print it back to Postman?
I can see 1 second. One we can see. Oh, okay. So when we print it back means whatever the main payload is there, that is displaying here because it is data is coming for this one now.
Yeah, no, I want to display this, the last subflow payload.
Inside of, okay, then we can, I think it is not possible. Let me check this one. I can create a one variable data.
Hold that payload.
I think it is not coming. Let me try this one. Payload.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then come here. Here I'm putting the transformation. I think it is not coming, but let's try it. Where start? Yeah, it is not coming. Let's see and try it. Let's hit it. I think that payload is not coming. Still now there is no variables. So after this one, you can see this is asynchronous here. You can observe it. So while we executing the VM connector, it is automatically executing your main flow also. Seen?
But we haven't put any asynchronous
No, you
block.
can see the queues. You can see this VM listener is asynchronous. Na? It is
Okay.
executing asynchronously. You can see that's why it causes the error. You can see now got it. So before executing of this asynchronous one, you can see it is executing your main flow. That's why it is throwing an error.
So then how to capture hold that value data?
And that means here we need to, yeah, capturing means the maybe we can write it inside of a file, or maybe we can push inside of the database. That's the way only we can able to do it.
So whatever the payload is here, we have to write
Yeah.
it to
Something.
Phy-
So some
physical
limitations
location.
are there for the VM listeners because it is executing
So,
asynchronously, right? Otherwise, I think from the data view also it is not possible. There is a wait function is there, but I don't think so whether it is executing or not. Let me try this one. So because here we can able to set a wait component, but I don't think I think it's not possible. Yeah, because this VM listener, whatever you are using, it is async one. So parallelly, your main flow and whatever the VM listeners are, they are executing simultaneously. So that's the causes the problem here. Okay. That's why there in this image you can observe it. You can see everything, whatever the output is there, everything they're pushing inside of the some location. From there only they are retrieving it because asynchronous jobs are these are all. Okay. Hello. It's somewhat difficult to understand, but the asynchronous jobs we need to use the VMs. That is the one. Okay.
so what is asynchronous component then?
Asynchronous component. What can come back? Okay.
We just saw VM, right?
Yeah.
So you earlier you are
No,
showing
no, no, no.
async.
Okay, okay. So where we can use async scope, right? Maybe you are calling
How
right.
to hold,
Now you can see
how
here
to
the
capture
async
that
scope
value.
is the. No, 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 no. Async scope, we are not capturing the data to perform any operations. Let us say there is a file data is there. One, for example, you are reading the 1,000 employees information. I want to send an email to 1,000 employees. Okay. So these 1,000 employees, I want run it parallelly. So there is an insert operation is going on, another operation is going on, but this sending the email operation is independent to all other one. So how we can do that one? So when we push this one email sending operation here, what happens? We need to wait it until we complete the 1,000 members send the mail. But I don't want to use like that one. We can simply use the async scope inside of that one. I'm calling that flow reference. That flow reference is triggered my is email sending logic. Then what happens? Your main flow is executed continuously. At the same time, whatever the async scope you are placing there, email sending, that is executing synchronously, right? Mean simultaneously.
Okay. So as you mentioned, can we, sir, is in our project also there is a email sending facility. So
I
can you
think
demonstrate that example email?
STSMTP. I need to
No,
configure.
email.
No, no,
Email
no,
is
no.
there.
First, we need to send email, right? There is a first we need to configure these things here. IMAP POP3. On your email, no. Email, 1 second, I can check it.
Not this example, a simple example where when you complete the operation,
No,
at the
so
end,
what
you will just
first?
trigger.
Yeah, 1 second. New email the same. Okay. The problem here, first we need to configure our Gmail according to that only your email works.
So what are the settings?
You can see. No, here it is not setting. From your Gmail is there, na, your server side. Here you
Okay,
need
so
to send, yeah, you can see the host name, that means your Gmail, na, gmail.com. Otherwise, your company domain is there, na, company domain name, username, and password. Those are the only things here we need to use it. But your
can't you-
email provider is there, na. From there, we need to configure it. Okay, do one thing then. Okay, tomorrow again I can configure my Gmail account according to this one, and I will send one mail. Okay.
yeah, a simple example where after completion of operation, we'll get that confirmation. The
So
data
that
has been
means what
that kind
got it?
of name.
I didn't get
Simple
it.
example where we'll reading from the CSV file
Okay.
and convert
So
to the
for the
JSON
list
and
of
after
10 employees are there, we need to send 10 employees emails asynchronously. That is your
yeah,
requirement, right?
salary has been credited to your account. Yeah, kind
Something,
of thing.
some dummy message. Okay.
Yeah,
So here you can see the remaining everything is same. That but Gmail side we need to configure some settings. You
yeah,
can
that
see
I
from
want to say.
address and none, everything is same normally. This is the content and the job. It's can subject. You can see the email subject, the content. Here the payload is there, na. Instead of the payload, here you can create one HTML page and you can send that one. Otherwise, you can send message and everything you can able to send here. But from what is the what email side, we need to configure it. Then only we can able to use this one. I will
Can see
configure
tomorrow.
and yeah, I will show you tomorrow. Okay, because I need to configure this my Gmail. Okay, yeah. So don't worry, I will cover this example and object store is balance and that one also I cover tomorrow and maximum we can start M unit tomorrow. Okay.
Topic example is also pending, sir.
Actually, the topic is I searched somewhere everywhere. In all examples, they are using the queue only for their limited functionality. Yeah. So whatever the Apache we are using now. So for that one, they are using the only queue for the topic they configured. It is automatically throwing an error. Maybe we are missing some configuration for our Apache local server. That is the problem. I am trying to get some useful information. And otherwise, I will configure another one, RabbitMQ. Then maybe that will help us. Maximum, I will cover that example tomorrow also. Maximum. Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, oh, this is the one also I cover tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, don't worry.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah. Any doubts, guys? Other doubts, other guys? Yeah. Okay. No. That. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys.